here at Cornell University. Cassandra Pierre-Joseph has been my email buddy for the last couple of months, and just a wonderful colleague to work with. Thank you so much. And of course to Lynette Chappell-Williams. When she first approached me in April to do this keynote, she said, "We're going to treat you like the Queen of Sheba." And she was right. And why is that so important? I'm coming from Greater Philadelphia. I've been to a number of institutions, but I've never been to Cornell University. And there's always that little bit of anxiety when you go away. And through leadership, I feel at home. I've called all my friends and bragged. But the leadership is what really makes the workplace, the environment special. And that is what I would like to address today with my presentation, Who is Your 42? Supporting Your Diamonds in the Rough. And I am going to reflect on, if anybody has seen the movie 42 regarding Jackie Robinson, and even if you haven't seen the movie, as I go through the parables there and the application of workplace bullying, you will see how very important my experience today regarding leadership and how I've been treated, and how you all can make sure you're treating your staff and your colleagues equitably so they can be all stars as well. I find this is an opportunity to talk about the intersection between discrimination, harassment, and bullying. And I'm thrilled to be able to present this to you today at this 15th Annual Diversity Update. Let me tell you a quick story. This would have been my father's birthday today. And he told me a story about bullying when I was a child. While my father was tall in stature, or was tall in intellect, he was a short guy of about 5'5". As a small child, he was walking home from school. I'm sure many of you have heard these stories. And he knew that the bully was on his heels. He knew that he was at risk. He was perceived as the smaller kid, the weaker kid, the nicer kid, like all of the bullying stories we hear about on the playground. And he told me as a child, the way you protect yourself is you throw the first punch. Now this is interesting. This is from the 40s and the 50s from this story. This is a young man who did not have the protections of legislation or whatever about bullying. But it certainly is something that we have been taught about bullying, is to throw the first punch. Now while I love my father dearly, I really do hope that we will find tactics that will prevent this self-preservation, us versus them. But for us to instead consider more collaborative ways of resolving our differences, instead of being fearful of the feet coming up behind you and thinking when you're going to throw the first punch. There are better ways for us to work with our colleagues. So the collaborative models I'd like us to consider is to look at ourselves and to look at leadership, and to also consider different strategies where we can have a more accessible environment. As I begin any talk, I like to get down to brass tacks. I'm going to lay out the definitions for you of harassment and bullying, and then also discuss with you some of the findings from the study regarding workplace bullying in higher education. Bullying, and this is from an anthology from Europe, it means harassing, offending, socially excluding someone, or negatively affecting someone's work tasks. The person confronted ends up in an inferior position. Often this means a boss to a subordinate, but this can also mean the staff member who has personal power, who all of a sudden shuns you. This can also mean the person who controls your budget, and they lost your requisition, or what have you. Bullying doesn't always mean boss to subordinate. It can be peer-to-peer, and other people in your environment who have control of your resources and assets. Harassment, very similar to bullying, is unwelcome conduct that is based on race, color, religion, sex, national origin, and age. Enduring the offensive conduct becomes conditions of continued employment. The conduct is severe enough or pervasive enough to create a work environment that a reasonable person would consider hostile. Bullying and harassment are unfortunate synonyms. So there's no doubt Jackie Robinson faced harassment. Absolutely, Jackie Robinson faced workplace discrimination. And if we take the racial or the sexist remarks off of harassment, he was bullied. The interesting thing about Jackie Robinson is that he had somebody in his environment to help him along as well. The racism and the sexism don't make it right, meaning it gives you an opportunity to go to Title VII, it gives you an opportunity to file a case. People who face workplace bullying often are facing more stress than the person facing sexual harassment. The person being sexually harassed, or the person who is the target of racism, they know what it's about. They know it's because they're a woman. They know it's because of their race. They know. The target of workplace bullying doesn't know. They just know that they're the nicer person. They just know that they're the easier target. They don't know what they did to set off the bully, which is what makes it more stressful for the target than harassment or discrimination. The result of bullying and harassment puts the target in the same position, feeling inferior, affecting their work, affecting their longevity, destroying your workplace environment. As I had stated before, if there was a family tree, bullying and harassment are close cousins in incivility. They are indeed synonyms. Both are based on power struggles, whether it's somebody trying to control your budget or control your parking spot or control your workspace, your window seat, the things we fight about in higher education is something else, I'll tell you. But bullying and harassment are based on power and based on humiliating target. So let's reflect on sports. I'm a former student athlete, and I understand that it can be aggressive. I understand we are out there to win. But if you've looked at some of the interviews regarding what's going on with the Miami Dolphins, the question that is coming in is leadership. Did the leaders in the locker room know about the hazing? Did the leaders on the coaching staff know about the hazing? Somebody knew about this before Martin decided to leave the team. Richie Incognito has been doing this for years. And as you look at the findings from my study, which I will share with you shortly, bullying and harassment can go on for years. And if the leadership can step in and do something about it, we will be spending more time worrying about, perhaps they need to worry about the playoffs instead of bullying. Perhaps you can worry about your meeting. You can worry about some other activity going on with your office instead of somebody treating somebody else poorly and destroying their workday. Leadership is the key to dealing with workplace bullying. I found this evidence in the movie 42, which I really very much enjoyed. And just to give you a recap about Jackie Robinson, if you don't follow baseball, he was born in Cairo, Georgia, so he's no stranger to racial discrimination. He was the first athlete, regardless of race, to letter in basketball, baseball, football, and track at UCLA. He was a Hall of Famer before he even got started. Jackie Robinson was recruited in 1947 to break the color line to join the Brooklyn Dodgers. In his rookie season, he had 12 home runs, 29 steals. Over his career, he went to 6 World Series, 6 consecutive All-Star games. A true gentleman and an athlete. But any superstar needs the environment to be correct, to flourish. Any high performer or future Hall of Famer needs the right environment. So let's enter Branch Rickey. Branch Rickey is what many would call the person in the environment. And he was the leader. He had the power. Branch Rickey was the GM for the Brooklyn Dodgers. He had a modest athletic career. He was a graduate of Ohio Wesleyan. And he was just a kid from Middle America. He loved baseball. But when he had the opportunity, he found a way to bring on Jackie Robinson. He was the person in the environment. Now, I do recognize with films, well, we do have some of that dramatic license going on. But the message is still the same. He not only signed Robinson, he made sure that the environment was correct. And he, as a leader, took the complaints, the wrath of threats, the nasty letters, the trashing in the press, and Branch Rickey stood in there with Jackie Robinson as the leader. As the Brooklyn Dodgers traveled through the South. In 1947, we were still waist deep in Jim Crow. They made sure that Jackie Robinson had a place to stay. They made sure